This video is sponsored by Johnny Dare, one of my Patreons. He didn't specify what he wanted me to say, so let's just, why don't you guys go pet a cat or something, and then thank Johnny for it. Alright, on with the show. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Chad. This week we're back with the Japanese learning resources because it was very much requested, and actually we're back with one of my favorite resources. A buddy actually gave me this, and he gave it to me when we were both studying in Japan, and I didn't touch it until this summer, and boy, that was a mistake. I'm talking, of course, about the Nihongo Sou Matome series. Now, I started this just because I finished N3 and I started getting into N2, and I felt there was not a jump, but kind of a gap between where that solid N2 started and where my kind of N3 left off. So I wanted to do just a kind of a broad review, have some sort of way to see all the stuff that I've learned before, and then try and see maybe where I've missed out and what maybe my textbooks didn't teach that maybe others did, so that way I can get more well-rounded to go into N2. And I'm telling you guys, I haven't found a better review book series, I think, ever. And beyond review, one of these textbooks actually is better than any textbook I've ever read on teaching readings of kanjis, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So if you check out each one of these books, they have translations in 4 languages: English, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. That being said, the translations really are only for margins and for words, but they don't really go into grammar or kanji or anything, because you don't really need it for readings that much. Pretty much this book series only covers N3, N2, and N1, so they kind of expect you by N3 to be able to learn in Japanese a lot and be able to read a lot. So suffice to say, if you're a beginner, this might not be your type of shtick, but if you're intermediate, about to go intermediate, maybe you're upper intermediate advanced, and you're just trying to look back and review, prep for Jlpt, I'm going to tell you why this is my favorite book. Now, like I said, these are review books, so a lot of the grammar that you'll see, a lot of the new information that it's trying to cover in the vocabulary books. The English, this is my main complaint with the book, a lot of times feels kind of ESL, English as a second language-y. So if you guys are going for trying to learn new information, these books probably aren't your best idea. Now, there is new information. I've done 2 different intermediate books now, and I've gone to this, and I've still seen information that is new to me, but all I do is I cross-reference it with different websites I trust in grammar dictionaries or just normal dictionaries. I don't trust the English on all these to be right. Most of them are, but I've seen some that I'm like, I know this word, and that's kind of fishy. And also, a lot of, especially in the grammar book, because there's a couple different versions of this book, sometimes it doesn't explain at all what it is. It just tells you how to build it in Japanese, which not that that's a bad thing, but if you are using this as maybe a primary source, maybe don't. So that's why when it comes to at least the grammar book, use it as a review, don't use it as a primary source. Have a textbook, and then when you're done with the textbooks, use this to review. Now, I will say this, if you don't have necessarily a textbook for learning words, or if you have a textbook but you don't like the way they teach kanji, this system is awesome. I've used it a ton, and I've only been doing it for 4 weeks now, and I've learned like 126 new readings I didn't even know. Pretty much every chapter is set up the exact same way. There's the top of the first page, a little picture-y looking thing. It uses the words or the kanji or whatever it happens to be from the that page that day. The book expects you to run, what is it, 1 or 2 pages every day, and the thing goes for 6 weeks. I actually got the book. Yeah, it's 1 day, 2 pages, you're finished in 6 weeks. And the format's essentially the same. The first page is that weird picture thing, and then below that is either your kanji or grammar or words that you haven't learned yet. And then on the second page is a small little test, usually anywhere between 7 and 16 questions. And that's a daily thing that you are expected to do just to make sure you understand it. Then at the end of every week, you do 6 days of new material. The 7th day is a 20 to 25 question test. And the nice thing about the test is it's actually in Jlpt format if you guys are going out for that test. And even better, it gives you the time limit and an answer sheet. Now, one of the cool things about the book, if you take all of those weekend tests and do them all at once, it's 105 minutes. Does that sound familiar to you? It should, because that's the Jlpt. It's 105 minutes for each section. So literally, this is in Jlpt format, and it's everything you need for that level of that specific thing, of grammar, of kanji, of vocabulary, and of listening. So literally, these books, beyond just being a good review and beyond being test prep, when you're done with the whole book, when you put it all together, you can actually do a mini Jlpt practice test. It's so cool! The only one that I don't think works very well is the vocabulary, and I think that's because even this book expects a lot of these words to be review for you. I picked up the N2 vocabulary book, and I'd say 50% I know, 50% I don't. but seeing as though every day it goes over 30 to 40 words, that's still more words than I'm used to doing. So I pretty much just set my limit at what I do daily. I always learn day in and day out, regardless of textbooks, 10 words a day. But the kanji's really reasonable. It's 7 to 8 new kanji readings per day, and it's, some kanjis may only have one reading, or some may have multiple. You may know an entire page, you may know none of that page, so that's a lot more doable for me. Grammar is 4 new pieces every day, and all of them kind of roughly have a theme, and I don't have the listening book, I'll be honest. I don't need it. All you have to do is the same thing I've been telling you guys, and I'm sure you guys do on your own anyways, but take whatever new information that you don't know, put it into a Memrise or an Anki or whatever your spaced repetition flashcard app thing is, run it every day. Then every day before you study, review what you did the last day and every previous day that the app says you need to review. Then learn your new piece, do the small little test. The Jlpt requires a 50% pass rate in all things, so just make sure you get at least 50% and you can move on. When you're done with the whole book, do the whole test. Is a 105-minute thing. Have someone proctor it, who cares? And if you pass 50%, you know that theoretically on that section of the Jlpt, you can pass. And again, this goes N3, N2, and N1, so I'm going to be doing this all the way up to the top. So for content, these are packed. I think the kanji book has like 330 new, depends on how far you are, kanji and kanji readings. The grammar goes over, I think, somewhere like 130 to 150 new pieces of grammar over the 6 weeks, that's a lot. And vocabulary, it's 30 to 40 a day over 8 weeks. I don't know why anybody would do 40 words a day for 8 weeks, so I spaced it into 10, so I can't really tell you that, but it's a lot of words. It's a very dense book. It's well formatted, it's easy to self-study. In fact, I think these are meant for self-study. I honestly give this an 8 out of 10. For price, obviously this is gonna be different in the West, but in Japan this was 1,200 yen, which is freaking $10, $12. I think you could buy it on Amazon in America for like $20, but there's a site called Selfie, where you can just buy the PDFs from the actual company, and I do that with my vocabulary. And I only got charged like $7 or $8, so for buying it in the book form in Japan, it's like an 8 out of 10. If you're buying the PDF, 8 or 9 out of 10. If you're buying the physical book in America, it would get a less score, probably a 6 out of 10. But when you put it all together, the series as a whole, because each book kind of has strengths and weaknesses and things I don't like and things I love, I'd give it about a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's a fantastic book if you're trying to review after finishing a full kind of leveled tier, if you're prepping for the Jlpt, or you're just trying to make sure you actually had a good understanding of stuff from the last textbook you had. This is an amazing resource. And for so cheap, $8 to $12 normally. Obviously, some of the English can be weird. I'm assuming maybe some of the Chinese and Korean might be a little weird too. I don't know. I don't speak Chinese or Korean. So just double check that with other reputable sites you trust. And as someone who's taken a mock Jlpt N3, I could say these books are pretty accurate to what you'll actually see on the test, at least in terms of content. But that's about it for this week. Have you guys tried this book? Have you opened this book? Has it been sitting on your shelf like it has been mine, or did you go through it and hate it? I actually want to hear what your reasons are. Do you have a better review book, and do you have a better kanji reading review method? That's what I personally want to know. Drop it in the comments. Again, shout out to Patreon, Johnny or Hannah Dare, depending on what he is that day or what his YouTube thing says. He's a good friend and he sponsored this video to make it happen, so everyone give him a thank you. If you guys would like to sponsor an episode of my channel or get exclusives for my Wicked Miscreant D&D podcast or any other weird stuff that I do, check out my Patreon, link down in the description down below. Also like it to throw off Jake Paul's algorithm. We'll take it from him. We'll be the Chad Powlers. Anyways, have a good week, guys. Be kind to one another. I will see you on Saturday.